This week on Landbeat, we're going to talk about this native successional field and how greatly it's going to benefit this 150 acres that we're staying on, not only for deer, but wild turkey as well. All right, guys, purchased this 150 acres last year, last December, and had noticed right away through the inspection period that this field had been brush hogged August-September timeframe. But I had noticed that there's quite a bit of native grass, blackberry, but during the dormant season and after it's been mowed, it's hard to tell exactly the components that were in the field. But after it was mowed, I had a difficult time really knowing exactly the components of the field, but I had high hopes for it and had made plans to burn it this year. So it was part of a 50-acre burn unit that was burned in mid-April timeframe, ahead of turkey season. So flash forward now to the 1st of July, and we have got a tremendous expression of both native grasses and diverse forbs, as well as pollinator species, some pretty rare plants, and I couldn't be more thrilled with the response not only to the fire, but the sunlight and the seed bank that this area has been given. So prior to ownership though, all I know is that this had been timber, and I could still see some remnants of dozer decks pushed out along the edge. So I don't know if this was seeded or if this is just a clearing and then has had prescribed fire since that clearing, and this is native seed bank expression. So I don't know if this has been introduced or not, but however, there are tremendous plants in here that aren't typically part of a seed blend. So I think it could be a combination of planted but also seed bank. But regardless of exactly how it got here, what I'm planning on is how to utilize it to benefit the property and what I want for the property in the future. And that is increased wildlife opportunities, hunting and recreational for specifically deer and turkey. So first and foremost, as this was burned this year, we had great brooding opportunities throughout this field. As late May, June rolls around, we've got ragweed in here, we've got native bunch grasses forming, 8 inches to 10, maybe 12 inches tall during that time frame. Now we've got mid-thigh, hip-high as we're getting into July. So it's getting somewhat dense for poults, but if they needed to, they can still move throughout this and have that overhead protection and cover within this field. So it's been great brooding. It's been great brooding cover throughout this year already. So as we move into its burn rotation, we're probably going to be looking at a 2-year rotation. So next year, this is going to be offering some wonderful nesting cover as we have a full year worth of growth and thatch and then new growth coming on in the next year. But that will offer wonderful nesting opportunities. But what about for deer? Obviously, we've got tons and tons of broadleaf plants in this. So we've got amazing amounts of growing season forage and diversity throughout that. But also from a fawning cover standpoint, it's hard to beat this right here. This is not going to offer probably midday cover. I could see a fawn or a doe moving fawn closer into the shrub area along the edges where you have more shade component. But however, amazing amounts of forage, great fawning cover to hide a fawn, newborn fawn, a young fawn. And in the fall time frame though, this is what I would term as great transitional cover. It is an opening, but by the end of this growing season, I can see little blue stem, I can see Indian grass, big blue stem in here as well, and probably some switchgrass. But at that point, this is going to be probably chest high. So although it's an opening, we've got cover that's going to keep deer concealed and be able to move across this during daylight hours, where if this was wide open or a fescue pasture, they may not want to do that or expose themselves as much, but this is going to be an area where they're going to feel very comfortable to be able to move and cross during daylight hours. So I'm going to play into that during my hunting and not let this be an area that I may otherwise, if it was a fescue pasture or something like that. So I'm not going to use this as a dead zone as I would a fescue pasture. I'm going to want to be hunting over this, knowing that deer are going to feel comfortable moving back and forth. And I may even try and utilize some calling techniques or a decoy strategy so I can call 2 deer who are further away. It's got just enough roll that they might have to come and investigate as I perch up higher on the more eastern side of this field and survey and look. And then if they come to, or if they come close enough, they'd see a decoy and hopefully interact and close the distance. But that's the value of this type of grass structure and forb component that's in here, is it offers those benefits. Not many recreational properties have got this. If they have this, it's usually enrolled in a CRP program, and the CRP program generally does not have this kind of diversity. So this is a rare gem on the property, and we're certainly going to be playing into its strength, not getting rid of this. Most people will look at this and say, huh, 3-acre food plot. It already is a food plot, plus it's got structure, plus it's got cover, nesting opportunities, fawning cover. I can go on about the strengths of this and how generally these are not managed for, and most times they are taken away from property. So we need to utilize the strengths of this, weave it into the fabric of the hunt strategy and layout of this property. I plan to do that, but just take a look at the diversity. Sensitive briar in here, rattlesnake master everywhere across here, some blackberry, ragweed, little blue stem, goat's rue, more sensitive briar over here, persimmon sprouts. Looks like a type of native sunflower over here. There's some coreopsis that have been blooming. There is lead plant right here, and the list goes on, and all sorts of native grasses, from switchgrass, little blue, Indian grass, big blue stem, wild rise, and probably more that I'm not even seeing at this point, as things, or many of them, have not seeded out. But I can't wait to see this go throughout the seasons, and I know the value it's provided already this year, just after one burn and through the spring and early summer months. But we've got the back half of summer and all of fall to watch deer and other wildlife and utilize this diverse native opening just like they should be.